All right, let me talk a little bit about what we're going to rig on here. When I'm vertical jigging these days, I rarely use live bait anymore. For a while there, I liked live bait a lot. For a while, I used a combination, but now I pretty much just go with artificial bait. My favorites are going to be the GULP products because they aren't plastic. They're actually a biodegradable material, and it's very, very soft. That softness gives the bait more action. It gives it more of a natural look to it. It's going to flip and flop down under the water just like a real minnow. And since I'm jigging and putting all the action on, there's no reason to have a live minnow. In fact, most of you, when you get your live minnow out of the bucket, what's the first thing you do? Go up through its jaw and out through the top of its head. Pretty sure it's not alive anymore, right? It's not swimming down there. It's not attracting. You're putting all the action on. But we all are comfortable with live bait. I'm not telling you not to use it. We're all comfortable with it. But what I want you to do is start to get comfortable with artificial, because then you won't have the hassle of keeping minnows alive. You'll get a lot more what I call secondary bites. Let me talk a little bit about that. One of the little tricks that we use for fishing with minnows is that we do something called stacking or piggybacking. We actually take one minnow, and in this case I've got a 3-inch GULP minnow. I'm going to string it on through the nose, almost like you would a night crawler, and come up through the back with the hook. So the minnow is just hanging on there with its nose pushed right up tight to the jig head. Now I could fish like this and I would catch fish with this. You know, it looks like a jig and a minnow. But one little trick I'll show you is piggybacking. Piggybacking is simply taking another minnow, typically a smaller one, or you could cut off part of one, like just use the tail, and pluck it on top, up through the jaw and out through the head, so that you've got 2 minnows on there. That's called piggybacking. All right, the advantage of piggybacking is, first of all, it makes this look bigger. We in general get bigger fish using twin tails like this. So if you're looking for bigger fish, a lot of times this will do that because it looks bigger. It's a bigger meal. The other advantage of this is if a fish does bite this, say a light bite, maybe you think it's a bite, you pause too long, you set the hook, you miss it, many times this top minnow will get plucked off. But if you're used to this and you got it right in your head, the first thing you'll think about is when you miss a bite is instead of reeling up and checking your line, you will quick drop this back down because you probably still have a bait on there. And because there's still a bait on there, many times there'll be one or more walleyes sitting together. One will say, hey, that looked like a pretty good meal you got there. The other one will swim over, I think I'll try this one. And you'll get a second bite. We get a ton of secondary bites using artificials. In fact, in many bites, if the fish are at all aggressive, you will get 50% of the times a second bite just by quick dropping your jig back down again and trying to get it. 50%. Boy, wouldn't we like to have all that, and every time we stroke down, 50% of the time we'd get a bite. All right, so by piggybacking, it's a real good way to give yourself more of those secondary bites. Now, the other advantage of piggybacking is this is a great way for you to build up confidence in artificial baits. That's what it takes to fish an artificial bait. You got to be confident that it's going to catch fish. You know, it's like anything. I can pretty much guarantee you, if you throw a lure out there, don't care what kind of fishing you're doing or what kind of lure, if you throw a lure out there that you don't think is going to catch a fish, it won't catch a fish. Because you got it in your head it won't. So you won't move your rod right, or you won't be concentrating right, or whatever. You won't catch fish. You need to think you're going to catch a fish. So what I'll suggest to you is buy some 3-inch minnows, string them on your jig like this, and then take a real minnow. This isn't a real one, but pretend it's a real one. Pluck it on top, all right? You'll still have confidence in it. I at least got one live one on there. It smells right or feels right or whatever you think it has to be. Put that live one up on top. Pick one of the smaller minnows in your bucket. Put it up on top there and start jigging with this. When you start jigging with this, you'll catch some fish. Now, maybe the first couple of times, the first bite, you'll set the hook, you'll get them or whatever, but eventually you'll get one of those bites where it bites, you set the hook, and you miss it. Quickly then, drop that back down and get one of those secondary bites, set the hook, bring it in, you'll look at that and you'll say, holy crap, I caught my first walleye on an artificial tail. All right, I got one. All that's left is that piece of GULP on there. Excellent. You'll rig it up the same way again, GULP on the bottom, live one on top, you'll jig some more. Pretty soon that'll happen again. You'll miss a fish, you'll drop back down, you'll get that secondary bite, you'll reel it up. Now you've caught 2 on GULP. Pretty soon you'll get 3 and 4. Pretty soon you'll start wondering, why am I sticking my hand in that cold minnow bucket instead of just putting another gulp on there? That's when you'll have enough confidence to start fishing only artificial baits. And it might take you several years to get there, but there's ways to transition yourself into believing in this stuff. I can sit up here till I'm blue in the face and tell you, you will catch as many fish doing artificials as live bait, but you got to convince yourself. Okay, I can't take you all out in the boat, wish I could, and show you, but you can get to that point.